Well, we're back. Let's bring AutoCAD over. Come on, grab hold guy. And here's what we're going to do today. We've learned how to plot, but what happens if we have a sheet like this where we have a set of wall sections at one scale, details at multiple different scales? How are we going to do that? Well, we do that with this layout tab down here. Before we were in model space, which if you look at my drawing, there's a whole bunch of stuff in here. In this case, it's a whole bunch of building sections. I actually cropped some of those details out with the viewport to do this. And we're going to talk about viewports because viewports let that happen. We can take the full building section and just look at portions of a drawing, whether it's this or whether it's this portion, and scale them up appropriately. So the first thing you'll do to start is you'll click layout. But let's look at a drawing that y'all have so that we can deal with that. So let's close this. And let's go back to that wall-based drawing. I've already messed with this one, so let's start again. Okay. So you've got this wall-based drawing. You probably put in the ceiling grid. This is a drawing we want to mess with today. The first time you click on layout, you'll get this. This is not what normally happens. The person that made this wall-based drawing originally has adjusted some stuff. Let's go to a new file real quick. You don't have to do this. I'm just going to show you how a new file normally works. If I click layout, it automatically creates a viewport on whatever layer you've got current, and it shoves the entire drawing into it. Now, we don't really want these to show up, so when you come in, grab the layout, and let's put it on the non-plot layer, because we don't want one of these big rectangles. The layouts can be adjusted with the grips fairly easily. They can be copied. And we can set the scale. Let's go back to the other drawing and we'll play with setting the scale. All right. We've got this drawing. This is the one you've got. So first thing, hit your F7 to turn that grid off. We aren't going to be using that. Now, whoever drew this deleted the viewport in this setup. So let's start by making a viewport. Good idea to start on the layer you want it to be on, in this case, the non-plot layer. The command is make view, or MVIEW. The shortcut's MV. I think that's generic. And just draw a rectangle. It'll force everything that's out in model space into this viewport. This is not set up to any scale at all right now. If we wanted it to be set up to a scale, it's very simple. Click on this, and down here you'll see the series of numbers. Click on the down arrow, and we can tell it, oh, we want this to be at 1/4 inch equals a foot, or 1/8 inch, or whatever. And whoop, there you go. You'll notice it doesn't fit. Well, what sheet size are we set for right now? Let's escape to get rid of the grips. Let's go to, where's page setup in here now? I don't remember. Usually it's on the page setup. You can type page setup. It's in one of these pull downs. It used to be right under the A, and of course I got rid of that because that was too useful. And we're at layout. We're going to modify that. So modify. You'll notice this looks an awful lot like what we did when we plotted. Let's get to where we are. All right, and there's where we set the scale. We could also set it to 1/8. We'll play with it in a minute. All right, so page setup's on the output. Here, let me close this. Output. Oops, I'm still in it. Output. Page setup. And we want to modify it. You'll notice at this point it looks like plotting, and that's exactly what it is. This is plotting without actually plotting. We're just setting up to plot. So in our case, because I don't have another way to do it for you all, will output as an Adobe PDF. I don't know what kind of printers y'all are going to be using. When you do have your printer set up, you can go to Properties, and you can tell it, like, if depending on if it's an HP plotter, it may tell you which, may have multiple rolls, a whole bunch of other things you can set up in here. For our paper size, what did I say? Yours right now probably says 8.5 by 11. Scroll down until you have like a D-size sheet. And when, well, this is fine for right now. We can leave it here. Make sure that black color table is in place, and hit OK and close. And in your case, it might suddenly have a much larger black area, and you may have something that's like this big because you went from an 8.5 by 11 to the larger size. I'm not sure what this drawing had originally set, but that's the case. Now, you'll notice it won't fit all the way. If we decided we wanted to print all of that, we'd have to switch to a different scale. Let's hit escape. Now, if you double click inside here, you'll notice how everything kind of changed. We're now in model space. If I move or pan, you'll notice it does this, not this. Okay. There are certain things we can do while we're in here. To get out of it, just double click out. Occasionally, you'll have this where you've clicked inside and you're like, oh no, how do I get out? Oops, I left a piece over here. Let's get it out of the way. Oh no, how do I get out? Well, we're in the model space viewport. We need to get back to the paper space viewport. Yes, if you read here, it says that. Down here, I don't know why they didn't call this paper space. But so what we need to do is type PS for paper space. Boop. And now we're back here. Because if we had, once you're in here, if you zoom and pan, you notice we're just changing the scale. Oh, drat. So if you do that, you are going to have to reset the scale. The good news is one of the things you can do, see the little lock right here? We can lock that viewport, and now even if we're in it and we zoom in, it won't actually do that because it's locked to a certain scale. So that's handy. Generally, when we're messing with these, we'll use the grips and adjust the space up. Like if we just wanted to see that reflected ceiling plan area, we could crop it down. And I've got my ortho one, so it's giving me a little more trouble. But so it's handy. We'll just set this one up for right now. And actually, let's put it back to 1/4 inch because this is pretty teeny. Come on. Oh, probably nice if I unlocked it first. 1/4 inch. Book. And of course, now I have to adjust my grips again. Now, these viewports, I could type MVIEW and make another one, but if I just wanted to have the exact same floor plan, but to see the floor plan and not the reflected ceiling plan information, if you click inside, and you can use lay freeze for this, lay freeze. If you pick on the ceiling layers or the ceiling grid layers, you'll notice we can have a viewport that looks at two different things, one to get the floor plan layers, one that shows the reflected ceiling plan layers, and we're looking at the same master drawing. And this keeps us from having multiple backgrounds and everything else. So this is the way you typically try to do this. That way you don't have, you make a change on the floor plan but forget to make it on the reflected ceiling plan. This keeps that from ever happening. And these viewports are how we also, like if I wanted another viewport over here, let's go copy. Let's put another one over here, and we'll set that one to be 1/8 of an inch. And we'll show the whole thing. And we'll skip that red part on the side. Hit escape to get out. So we could have one that's here, and then it has like a bubble here that shows you to zoom in and all this other stuff. And that's how we can create a drawing with multiple viewports. The viewport's just like a big camera way above your building or your floor plan in space, and that camera's just zooming in and out. And so in this case, it zoomed in, to where it's 1/8 of an inch. In this case, it zoomed it in to where it's 1/4 of an inch. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but in the zoom command, you've got this X or XP thing, and you're like, what's that? That's actually how you do this. Let's click inside here and we'll zoom out to some weird stuff. If I hit zoom, and it's better to center this in here and you'll find out why in a second. If I hit 1/96XP, that's the command to zoom in Viewport, and you'll notice it's like, where to go? Drat. So if you ever do this, let me zoom back out. Put it in the center pretty much before you do the zoom 1/96XP. You'll probably never need this. The only time, whoops, what did I type? It'd been nice if I'd put 1/96XP. Zoom 1/96XP. There we go. And now we'll lock it. I should have locked these. And I could have locked them both at the same time, except now they're different, so it doesn't want me to do it. There we go. All right. The nice thing about this is we can bring our title blocks in drawn at their proper size. We don't have to scale them up in round drawings or anything else. That's one of the reasons this used to be called paper space, because this is where everything that was going to output on the paper was made. I've got a stupid that PS to go into, MS is the command to go into Viewport. PS is the command to get out. The way you can remember this, and all the women are going to beat me for this, this is how you know AutoCAD is male. Because AutoCAD has PS, it has MS, but it doesn't have PMS. And so that's how you can remember it. Yes, a stupid sexist joke, I know. But it's a good way to remember that command, because now it's a stupid joke you can't get out of your head, and so you'll go, oh yeah, I remember now, in the future. But anyway, next time we're going to look at other ways of doing viewports. You can take objects and turn them into viewports. We can do a whole bunch of things with viewports, not just restricting what layers display and things like that. But all right, that's it for this one.